I was born in Chicago, in some hospital, and I was born on what was called in those days Decoration Day, May 30th. And said I was very young then. I arrived in New York in 1929 with $20 between me and starvation, as they say. But you know, when you're young and healthy, relatively healthy, you're not worried. What can happen to you? Nothing. Nothing can happen to you. Anyway, I had difficulty getting a job, getting an interview even. I went to all the employment agencies. In those days, it was a little bit tougher for a Jew to get a job there. And I went into one agency, and the guy, I'm trying to remember the name of it, and the guy sitting there says, I walked in there, he says to me, "You're Jewish, aren't you?" I can't place it. First I started out looking for a job in publishing or something like that. Now I was looking for a job as a dishwasher. Okay? Between 5th and 6th on 8th Street, there was a building being finished up, small building squeezed in there. There's a guy in front of there, short, blonde guy, I don't know, doing something with a door. I said to him, "Tell me, what's opening up here?" He says, "There's a nightclub is opening up." I wasn't too familiar with the term nightclub. In Chicago, they were called cabarets. I said to him, "Well, do you think they hired their dishwashers, or do they think they need dishwashers, or who would I have to see to get a job as a dishwasher?" He said, "Oh, they must have hired the dishwasher. They're opening up tomorrow night." I said, "Well, how can they open up tomorrow night? You haven't finished your work." So he said, "Well, we got to take on another guy tonight to help us finish up." So I said, "Well, what about me?" So he gave me a bucket of blue paint and took me down to a door there, a swinging door, and he told me what to paint on it, blue, and he'd come back and look at it. So I painted it. He came back. He said, "Okay, you're hired." It was about 4:30, I guess, maybe 5 o'clock. He said, "You're hired." And I said, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" He said, "No, you don't work. You don't start now. You start at 9 o'clock. Start at 9 o'clock tonight. You work from 9 to 7. So, well, I wasn't going to pay a nickel subway fare to go up to 143rd Street and then come back here, pay another nickel. That's what it was in those days, a nickel. And I said, I went to the corner there where they had a place called the Coffee Pot, and I sat at a counter there and had a cup of coffee and a donut. the morning, the painters, the regular house painters, came in to finish up what they had to do. And they see me with paint in my hair, paint on my face, paint on my hands, paint on my suit, paint on my shoes. And they threw down their buckets, scab. I was a scab. This was a labor union, you see, this was a painters union. And they weren't going to finish the job. So Fritz Brosius called the owner of the place. Woke him up. And he came over and talked to these guys. By that time, the agent came over. He talked to him. He said, "Take a look at this fella. Is he a painter? Even a scab? Did you ever see a painter who has so much paint in his hair, in his ears, on his hands, on his clothes? This guy's an artist." Anyway, he convinced him that I wasn't a scab. You see, that I was just doing decorating there. And he asked me about myself. I told him I was looking for a job, and told me to come over that evening. And he finally got the job. I was a cashier. And he came down into this lobby, and here I was. In fact, the first couple of nights I had to wear somebody's tuxedo. He paid me $16 a week. I didn't know that until I got paid. But there was more money than I had earned, and I was down to practically nothing. Maybe I had 20 cents or so, and I owed rent. So I kept the job for a while. It was very interesting. There was a place in New York, I forget, some Irishman ran it, a counter place, real narrow place, near 143rd Street. And when I was living there, I'd come in and I had to make my money last. So you could get a bowl of soup for a nickel. And they had these oysterettes, little tiny crackers, in a bowl there. And I'd take the oysterettes and I'd fill the soup bowl until they were all saturated. And it was a great meal. It would last me for half a day anyway. And so when I come in there, and that's all I ever bought there was this one nickel's worth of soup. But when I'd come in there, this guy that owned it knew what I was going to have. So I'd come in and I'd order some soup, and he'd go over to the end of the counter and he'd take the bowl of oysterettes and shove down the corner, shove it down the counter. And he'd come down about 12 feet or 15 feet, slide down. And I'd say thanks, It was fun. It was fun. It was a great period of time, you had, it was fun. And I have to say that Sylvia, at least in those years, was extremely tolerant of me, because I used to pick up people bums, and bring them home and talk. Of course, we had a lot of village poets and writers and artists and temperamentalists and whatnot that hung around because we all, know, it was the era, really, to some extent. Very few people had any money. And you know, I enjoyed everything. I enjoyed everything. You know, you have a room, a little dinky room, but what little there is there that you can fix up, or you enjoy it, you know, you feel good about it. It was wonderful. Because when you're free, you know, a certain freedom, a certain feeling of freedom you have. It was very hard for me to, until just very recently, to realize that I couldn't do things, you know. If I'd have known what I couldn't do, I probably wouldn't have gotten involved in a lot of these things, like the book business and art and all that. But I did everything in the old days. Anything. So there was nothing that I ever felt that I wouldn't attempt. And it stays with you, you know, this thing stays with you. I was a dreamer.